Welcome, Scorpio. It's your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 16th of February for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. I'm going to sketch out, first of all, the big themes of the week for you. On the screen, you can see the planets. Then I'll go through them and create the context. Then, as the week unfolds, I go through each of the very powerful events and unpack them frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what to expect. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you're new here, please subscribe to help the channel to continue to grow. We have three very potent events. On Tuesday, the solar eclipse, the first in Aquarius for 8 years. This is the part of your chart to do with home, emotion, family, security, nurture. But because it occurs so late in Aquarius, by Wednesday, the sun has moved on into the sign of Pisces, which, like you, is a water sign, but it also represents your fifth house. Very creative, playful, social, and gives you a chance to buff up your charisma. But by the end of the week, the serious duo of Saturn and Neptune in the practical sixth house moves into an exact conjunction, the first time they've been so for 37 years. So on the screen, you can see the planets. And first of all, we need to be mindful of your two rulers. Pluto continues along with Mars in the sign of Aquarius. Now, Pluto will and has done continue to be very influential around where you live, how you live there, and who with for some time. If you're involved in a renovation project at the moment, not a surprise. If big changes are going on around family life, people leaving home, people coming back home, new additions to the family, not a surprise either. But the moon at the start of this week is very close to Pluto, and that can create some extra intensity. And the fourth house for both Pluto and Mars can be a bit prickly. It may be where we're inclined to be a little more defensive, particularly later on when the moon comes into the conjunction with Mars. So if your immediate environment isn't quite as you would like, too busy, too quiet, uh, people not quite chiming in with your mood, the atmosphere could, if it isn't as you want, just seem a little edgy. But the solar eclipse, which occurs on Tuesday, is when the moon moves forwards, combines with the sun at just under 29 degrees. And that provides a backdrop energy for the next 6 months. But if you look here in the seventh house of your chart, very much to do with relating, Uranus squares off that position of sun at the start of the week and also the eclipse. So around that home, emotional and protective vibe of your situation, if there's someone around you who's very changeable, unpredictable, uh, could be quite entertaining at one level, but not if you really like peace and quiet. Maybe over the next 6 months, if there is something edgy around a relationship dynamic, maybe it is around family politics, it could well show up. But equally, if you and someone you live with, a flatmate, family member, or a partner, want different things from the home, that will be something that I think will show up. But by Wednesday, the sun moves into the fifth house. Now, the fifth house has an echo of Leo energy. It's charismatic, it's bright, it's an area that you can really be much more outgoing, potentially more playful. And the energy that's been so prevalent recently around where you live and how you live there is still going to be there, and obviously the backdrop energy of the eclipse. But you could find yourself wanting to connect to people more. If you have been preoccupied with those deep family issues or making some physical changes to where you live, the chance to get together and be more playful with others is certainly going to call out for you for the next month. But Mercury in this part of your situation gives you probably a mischievous need to express your sense of humor. But Mercury forges a great link to Jupiter, the traditional ruler of Pisces, so mutual receptivity. If you are wanting to go out, perhaps spontaneously have some fun with someone you get on well with, that's a very enabling influence. Now, if there is someone you're drawn towards romantically, um, the next 4 weeks can be a chance when you spend more time together, and it really is something very lovely that's developing. There's something towards the end of February that really can give you some assistance, but I'll share more about that shortly. But the other thing to tell you at the start of the week is the Sun is in a very positive angle to Chiron. Now, Chiron is said to be the wounded healer. Some astrologers link Chiron directly to health. I think Chiron can be a superpower in its natal context, where we can be particularly good at the house or the sign that it lives in once we've mastered its energy, but it can also be where we don't feel we get the recognition and nurture we deserve. But that link between Chiron and the Sun suggests if you do make some practical changes to your home, or there's a fairer share of the domestic load, or someone appreciates the support and sacrifices you've made, it will be something you find very pleasing. But by the end of the week, we have that combination of Saturn and Neptune, and they're essentially saying to you, uh, particularly Saturn over the next 2 years, that if you can be more virtuous around the routines in your life or around what you eat and drink, or when it comes to your work, you get a nice balance between what you do that's constructive, supportive, and helpful to others, but you're not doing too much. And I think with Neptune being very close to uh, Saturn, Neptune can be a draining influence, and Saturn a structural one. The sign of Aries can be about thrust. Your traditional ruler Mars rules that sign in isolation and can be a little bit impatient. So when it comes to the finer details of life, it's important to take your time to create a framework that's deliverable, that's functional, and that may mean detailing things a bit more. If that's something that you generally find a little dull, well, Saturn will challenge you to be more responsive to getting things in some kind of pattern. But it does suggest that when it comes to exercise, sleep, dental care, uh, anything, your eye care, anything to do with those regular routine appointments, it's very important to attend them and to attend to your own personal needs. But if you are in a job at the moment that does seem to be a lot of give, a lot of sacrifice, and not a lot of recognition and acknowledgement, the chances are you will change that job over the next couple of years. So that brings us towards the end of the week. And I just wanted to share with you about that glorious link at the end of February on the screen. You can watch your deep dive for February. You'll get more understanding of Saturn, the solar eclipse, and also the last week of February when your traditional ruler Mars is in a punishing right angle with Uranus. But the upside is a delicious link between Venus and Jupiter. And also, if you'd like to take advantage of my offers on my printed charts, you can get your personal forecast full 12 months from the time of order, plus your life roadmap, and apply Astro 26 at the checkout and get 50% off. If you're interested in soul or karmic astrology, you can order your draconic forecast and chart and get 50% off by adding Draco 26 at the checkout. Take care, all the best, and goodbye.